Welcome to my channel, where I engage my guests in Life Matters conversations, where they share their passions and creativity, explore with us, grow, tune in, connect, and learn from these trailblazers. This is where we share the real, raw, authentic stories of failures and successes. Enjoy the journey. Great. So, welcome. Today's our second episode of Life Matters Conversations. And today, Jennifer Sifert is with us. I was very intrigued. I've been seeing her on different networking events, and I saw her speak on Symposium Synergy. And there's a lot of things we have similar, and I was really intrigued and I wanted to find out more. And I've always wanted to invite her. Well, here she is. So,
Hi.
Jennifer Sifert, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Robert.
Jennifer Sivert guides spiritual seekers, healers, coaches, and soulpreneurs. I love that. Who struggle with addictive distractions, lack of confidence and clarity, and fear of being seen and heard. She understands these challenges and guides clients to activate their purpose, realize their power, and create prosperity by doing what they love. So they have a freedom, fulfillment, vitality, success, and wealth. And there's so much more, but
Yeah.
I'll have her tell you all about what she does. And I'm also curious on your journey and how you got where you are now.
Yeah, I think I got here because of life experiences and steps along the way that have pointed me in the direction that I've been looking for. If you've been watching yourself from the inside or watching for signs, I started that at a very young age. I seem to be aware of my gifts at a very young age, and then also aware that I was turning them off at a young age too because of trying to fit in. And so I've gotten to know the patterns of being afraid to be seen because you've been shut down before, and also the being afraid to speak your voice because I was told, like, don't say that, don't tell anybody that, you're going to be weird if you tell people that. Or
Right.
I'm a direct person as well, and I'm like a truth teller, like just natural. I kind of just all of a sudden will splurt out your issue and you're not ready to receive it.
That's a good one.
So people will get pissed off at me. Like, how dare you point out the thing that is really bothering me?
That's very familiar to me.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
experienced that often enough.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, well, just a question. At what age did you mention you were shutting off again?
Well, I had a big, I remember at 5 years old speaking with, I'm from Alberta, Calgary, Edmonton area. I'm from a horse racing family too. So I grew up in a different industry than most other people grow up with their parents in their work, right? And I remember distinctly at 5 years old being in the park at Ramsey School, which was in like the oldest one of the oldest communities right by downtown, right by the racetrack, by Stampede Park, where the greatest show on earth is held, Stampede. And I remember distinctly talking and singing and being taught and told things by um, three men dressed in headdresses and garb and all of that. And like they were real for me. I
Okay.
remember this. And then that's then I remember the decline after that of I was told, you're going to be a singer, you're going to be a leader, a teacher, a healer. And then after that, I knew all those things, but I also, I started, society, like, going the straight and narrow way, turning into a high achiever, wanting to do well at school, wanting to be accepted because I wasn't accepted, right off the bat. I always kind of felt like it didn't fit in because I would move schools every 3 months because my parents would move with the horses every 3 months until grade 4. And so I was constantly like, oh, people will like me. And then, oh, I have to leave again. And then people, for till grade 4. So,
No
I mean,
roots.
yeah, like we were a very nomadic kind of family, business, family, sport. Um, but then after the roots settled, then I really kind of got into high achieving. I ended up in this class with geniuses and they were very competitive. So I did not want to not get 80s or 90s. If you were not getting an A, you were like shunned. And because there were so many really smart people in the class. And like, guess what? I'm really smart too. So I was lucky to be in the class, but I had to work my ass off. I studied like a banshee. I would
You were smart and you had to work your ass off.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because well, I
I
had to prove I
I
could
had
keep
to
up
work
with
my
them,
ass
right?
off because I
Yeah,
wasn't smart.
yeah. No, but that's the thing with high achievers, right? Like we
Yeah.
have to kind of prove ourselves. But I mean, in grade 6, did I know that I was a high achiever? I, like we didn't term ourselves that way.
Okay.
We, we were, I was I was looking to be accepted because I was this really intuitive, empathic, telepathic kind of kid because I grew up around horses. They're teaching me all of this intuitive skills and natural talent around like feeling and gut instincts and all that kind of thing because you just can't help but learn it when you're around a horse all the time and
That's a
around
good one.
people who work with horses because
Yeah.
everybody's like we don't need to speak to each other.
Yeah. That's a very good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh
Absolutely.
and so I got a deep insight, like, and now I'm kind of unpacking it. It helps me now working with people who are high achievers or recovering high achievers. Is this need to be recognized? Like we have all of these gifts. Like there's so many gifts within us. We're actually what I know about high achievers is whatever we focus on, we can be really good at it. And
Yeah.
then and we can focus on multiple things and be really good at multiple things. And then we're kind of overwhelmed and stretched. And it's like, oh, what do I do? I'm really good at so many things. And then there's this feeling of not getting recognized for it either.
Right. Right. But I mean, I grew up in a world where I was continuously told, do what you can do best.
Oh yeah.
But because I did so many things, and yet I never felt I excelled in any one of these particular things. Yeah, I played soccer. I was on the track team. I rode horse. I do consider myself a musician, but I'm not a school musician. I don't read notes. I speak 5 languages. Yeah, but I can't become, a translator because I just don't master the languages good enough. So a whole array of things. So then of course, I didn't know what I should be doing because I was told you should be doing what you can do best. I never knew I never thought I was good in anything, actually.
Oh
So
yeah.
I was pretty confused. But when I was younger, I had a lot of older people always walk up to me and say, "Oh, you've got this or that gift. Oh, and you can hypnotize. Oh, and you are capable of uh, knowing what people feel. You're an empath." And I had no clue what they were talking about. actually.
Yeah. And then did you like, when you're going to do what you do best, did that inspire you to study about empathics or like to get into it more, to learn more about it when these like didn't it feel like a sign when they came up to you like somebody was guiding you?
No,
No?
no, no. But the seeds were planted.
Yeah.
The seeds were planted.
Yeah.
And luckily I was still young enough when
Hmm.
I started experiencing these out of the ordinary, experiences that I knew weren't of this reality,
Hmm.
but I still couldn't do anything with it. I was
No.
so enormously empathic that I was projecting all my pain on the outside world, the pain of the wars and the pain of the poverty. I lived in India for 4 years, and it's just like I just couldn't take it. I felt so overwhelmed because I was feeling everything. So that was also one reason why I sort of never felt understood or heard or seen. Oh no, you know, you're just fantasizing. Oh, you're not, really experiencing it. Oh, you're not feeling my pain. So it took me a long time to figure out what I was supposed to do on this planet, actually. But
I'm
I
with you there.
but again, I had the guidance all throughout my life, and there were like seeds being planted that
Hmm.
slowly but surely started making sense. But there was a moment where I did shut off because I wasn't take seriously. Yeah.
I know what you mean about this empathic, is it feeling everybody's stuff? Because I had that too as a young person. And what it did for me is like I wanted to save them. I wanted to take responsibility to help them because I would feel my parents worry about money because when you're in a horse racing business, you have to win to make money. And they never got paid. Like they were always worried about their entrepreneurs, they're self-employed, and people wouldn't pay them because if their horse didn't perform well, why should I pay you? Like there was these money issues that they were bringing into my awareness, and you can't hide anything from somebody who's empathic. Like
Right.
you can't.
No,
But at the
exactly.
same time, I was like, I want to help. I was the firstborn, right? So I felt like I needed to. It was my responsibility to help them. And I noticed. I remember, the anxiety of my parents when I was younger also kind of imprinting me with anxiety that wasn't even my own.
Right.
It's not my anxiety, but I'm feeling this anxiety, right?
Exactly.
And when you're 8 years old, do you understand what's going on completely with that? I don't think I did 100%.
Well, you probably did.
Yeah.
You probably did, but you didn't get that reflected from the people around, which is probably why you just shut that off. And at some point, you just reopen that again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because, I just have a memory while you're saying this. When we were living in India, my father wanted to go into the mountains to pick up my brother and sister who were having a vacation there in the forerunners of the Himalaya mountains in Uttar Pradesh. And we were in New Delhi, and I was adamant of wanting to go with him. It's like, no, you can't go. You have to go to school. And I was like, no, I want to go with Daddy. I want to go with Dad. And it was a premonition. And he hadn't come home for like over 3, 4 days. And in the middle of the night, I woke up and I walked down the stairs and I heard my mom on the phone whispering. And when she hung up, I said, "Where's Dad?" And then she couldn't deny it anymore. He had ended up under a truck in the middle of the night,
Mm.
yeah, on his way over there. And uh, and that's when I started becoming more, okay, I cannot deny this anymore. I have to start listening. And then still it takes a really long time before you really integrate that into your life and just to really trust your intuition at every moment.
Yeah. And the thing how I've really learned to access my intuition, and now I mean it's one of the big things that I teach people, and what I hear so much from people who have shut themselves off is that they don't know, they know that they're shut off from their intuition, they want to re-access that. But how I really learned how my, like, I taught myself how to learn how my intuition was working by not listening to it, you know.
Right.
It'd be like, oh, interesting, like, oh, I didn't listen again, and I put myself back into that pattern or back into that bad relationship,
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
know. And it'd be like, why don't I listen to my intuition? And I think it's because we ignore it, we dismiss
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Or we rationalize it away. We were sitting in Germany. I was in the kitchen and I see this ladder coming by the door, and then in the middle of the ladder, my father holding the ladder, and then he disappears, and the rest of the ladder disappearing across the door. And I felt this pang in my body, and I like rationalized it with a memory that I had that my father once, when we were living in Greece, had fallen from the ladder. So I just pushed it away. The next thing I know, I heard this muffled sound. He had fallen from the roof. He had wanted to, stop his fall with his arms, but he was on top of the ladder. So the ladder on top of his arms, and he just couldn't get up anymore. He was stuck and he was lying on top of the ladder, and he had broken his nose completely. And when I stood there and saw that, it was like slow motion, and I realized that that was actually what I had felt was going to happen. And so from that moment on, I had sworn to myself to always react
Like,
on
always
any.
say something out loud if you get a sense of it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
would would people listen to you if you, like, so did you start doing that and did you get listened to?
Yes,
Okay, good.
I actually saved a lot of people's lives that way.
Mm-hmm.
I was working in the States as a tour guide, and uh, I would always drive with this one guy who became my friend, and I trusted this guy with my life and the 40 passengers always. I mean, the guy was an amazing driver, but I said, "Listen, Jeff, if any time at all I scream and ask you to slam on those brakes, please do that. You need to trust me as well." And he did, and we became really close friends. And in the 6 years that I worked in the States, there was one occasion where, I just felt this pressure again, and then I screamed it out, and he just slammed on the brakes. And hadn't he done that, I mean, right in front of us, this car careens out of nowhere, right in front of the bus, rolls over because he went out this way, rolls over, hits the railing in the middle of the lane, and flies over to the other side of the road. He would have been dead with the four children in the car. He was completely drunk, that guy. So those kinds of situations happen often where I just, but sometimes you might not have the proof, but the fact that I am witnessing, for instance, these two guys in one of the most dangerous roads in the south of Italy, in the Costa Amalfitana. These roads are so narrow. I mean, when a bus comes around the corner, you you almost can't get through with another car. That's how narrow that road is. And I hear these two American guys behind me, and one guy, I hear him say, "Oh man, if I drive today, I'm going to crash." I just turned around and I pulled the keys out of his hand and gave it to the other guy. I said, "Whatever you do today, you're not driving." And they were looking at me like, "Why? You know what? Oh, did you hear what you just said? If I drive today, I'm going to crash. Whatever you do, do not drive today. Don't let him drive." And then it's up to them. But if I wouldn't have responded and if something would have happened to them, I would have contributed to that accident.
Mm-hmm.
It's just for the mere fact that I was witnessing that experience
Yeah.
or in the experience witnessing it.
So those are like the big ways that our intuition can be like very like help us to navigate. But I also like to use my intuition more and more, like for the little things, like the little things that aren't like life threatening or anything like that, or having to save someone's life. It's um, the right now I'm working with a nutritionist and I'm really getting to know how my body is, the body sensations are talking to me through my intuition and body reactions. And like last year, my lips started flaring up on me. And I didn't know why, like what's going on. And, but after months of investigation around Christmas time, I figured out that the chocolate that I was eating, I'm allergic to almonds and pretty sensitive to tree nuts, hazelnuts or whatever. But I realized I always ate this one chocolate bar, the Lindt chocolate bar, the sea salt dark chocolate bar. I ate it all the time. And so I didn't put two and two together for a while that's why my lips were flaring up.
Right.
But when Christmas came around and I started eating like some different chocolates that weren't that chocolate bar, and then my lips would be even more flared up, and I'd be like, I went and looked on the packaging finally, and it said may contain tree nuts, and it may contain tree nuts was on my other chocolate bar. And so some manufacturing had changed, and now they were letting nuts go through wherever, those chocolate that maybe 2 years ago they weren't doing that and it wasn't irritating me. Or maybe my body got to a toxic load that was
Exactly.
like,
It just
no, you
reached
can't do
that.
this anymore.
Exactly. Exactly.
But, I had to do some real, it's when you're accessing, your body starts talking to you to tell you, like, Jennifer, like, you got to stop eating. It wasn't just because of the tree nuts. It was more like that chocolate was a coping mechanism as well, and it was also causing space, like taking up space where I could have had space for guidance to come in. And so I've been really noticing how food and things that we consume interfere with our intuition and how you're accessing your intuition just by
Right.
my own personal study. And so I've been working with the nutritionist Connie Pertella since January, and I've had to eliminate gluten and I've had to eliminate dairy
Right.
and all of these things because they're taking up space in my field and my body is reacting to them. And so it's like another way of listening to your intuitions by looking at your body and the
Yeah.
reactions that your body does, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good point. Intuition works on all levels when you're
Mm-hmm.
open and when you're completely connected. And you're absolutely right. That is a good point. It doesn't have to be in just those extreme situations. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
intuition can decide whether or not you're going to hire this coach or that coach,
Yeah.
you know? So what is your gut feeling? What what is the right decision ultimately? How do you know that the choice you're making is the right choice?
Another thing that I was testing my like learning more about my intuition and my nervous system, like the nervous system and intuition are really connected. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know like all the scientific terms. I just know how I feel. And my shaman teachers who are from New Mexico, the Stevens, they always kind of planted this seed with me always when I was studying with them. Move towards what feels good. Like Does it feel good? If it doesn't feel good, don't do it, right? And
Right.
so I started networking. I come from a professional background. I have a CPA, a chartered professional accounting. And I wasn't, I was doing that full time while I had been studying my whole life. It was one of my careers. I've had maybe 5 careers so far. And I needed to get out of it and do this full time, do my passion, my purpose, my life's mission. And so when I did get out, I needed to start networking. Like I never had to like sell myself or market myself as a shamanic practitioner, as a guide who helps people, transform their obstacles so they can do their life's work.
Right.
And so I started networking with BNI, which is pretty mainstream businesses, very corporate orientated. And what I noticed is I was calling myself a shaman. And I was really, wanting to step into being who I am, like in alignment with what I do, what I say, and walk my talk. Every time I started like saying stuff and talking about what I do, which is basically I help you get to where you want to go and heal the things that are in the way.
Right.
And I kept feeling like every time I went there and after every meeting, and then I would have this like really nervous reaction where I would feel attacked or threatened, or I'd have to like, oh, I need to meditate. Like it was like a vibration. It was like, when you're, I don't want to go because I just don't feel good. And then I'd force myself to go, and then I'd feel really shitty afterwards. And I'd be like, what is going on with me? Like, why do I feel like crap every time I go to these meetings? And then also when I started, in BNI, you're supposed to have, you pay to be in the group, and you're supposed to have one-to-one connections,
Right.
separate meetings. So I was doing that. And then I was getting told, oh, shaman's scary. Like, what's a shaman? Like, and all that kind of stuff. So then I was like contorting myself into saying, all right, I'm a business strategist, I'm a life strategist, like changing the words to please other people
Right.
instead of being who I am.
Right.
And then so I was kind of like feeling even worse. And I finally realized I don't feel good because I'm not supposed to be there. I'm in the wrong room. These people are rejecting me. And I'm feeling it. Like it's like a big slap in the face every time I go. They're rejecting me. And they're not interested in sending me a referral. And they're not interested in transforming their problems. Like they just aren't interested. And I was like, then the type of person I am is like, I stay with my commitments. And I ended up on the leadership team as the mentor coordinator because they were trying to keep me in the group for some reason. I don't know why. Like, why do you want me here if you don't think, you don't believe in me,
That
or
was
you,
still part of the high achiever in you.
yeah, yeah. And so then I was like, I finished my commitment. I didn't go back. And I was like, never again. But it really taught me, it was really such a big teaching for me about alignment with who I am, what I do, what I say, walking my talk, and also not letting the mainstream society dictate me anymore to conform to what they um, think I should be because they're
Yeah.
afraid.
Yeah. Or the image that you would have to portray in order for them, you know,
Mm-hmm. I'm
to
not for everybody.
yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
But
I
I
felt so
mean,
much better. Oh,
but shaman was maybe a little too far off for them.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And,
Couldn't
I
do much
work
with
with
it.
visionaries. The people I work with are visionaries. They have big visions. They know they want to make a big impact. And often I would say, I work with thought leaders and visionaries. What's a visionary? I'd be like, okay. If I have to explain what a visionary is, I'm definitely in the wrong room. You're not a visionary, obviously.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
But why did you feel that you needed to shift from your job?
No, because
What?
I didn't feel good. I was having that same kind of reaction, that repelling reaction. So
Right.
I study with shamans like down in Peru, and I do plant diets and all of that kind of thing. And the plant diets, they're teachers, they're master teachers, and they're opening up consciousness inside of you. And so I have 6 plants, specific master plants that I've dieted, and they are very powerful and they're my allies and they're working for me. And they're always teaching me. But the only way you learn is through real life experiences, right? Like it's not, so they are interacting with me, and I'm a visionary. Accounting, I don't really fit in accounting either, because if you start having visions and great ideas that are beyond what they believe is possible for themselves, you get shut down pretty damn fast.
Right.
And so, you know, there's interpreting the rules, and I'm a wicked accountant, and I'm great at helping people being prosperous. And I turned the firm I was consulting with, I took I built a whole position for myself and created a role of running 3 departments for them and building $1 million a year for them in revenue. And I ended up being really bored all the time, stressed out and bored. Stressed out and bored because I'm a highly responsibility is one of my core values. Like I want to be responsible to help people have the better life, because
Right.
I see your problems. I see potential all over. That's one of my gifts. I'm a potential. I just see it. And then I see what you're doing to not manifest your potential. So in
Yeah.
accounting, I could really see the person, the business owner, and I saw their books, and I could see why their books were a mess, because they were showing me in the transactions plus in their energy. But they didn't want to change anything for themselves. They were really like, okay, well, you fix it. You fix it. So it's a lot of weight on my shoulders that I was putting on myself. And they didn't want to learn how to stop doing the pattern that was creating the mess. And so I just I was constantly frustrated
Right. But what was the impulse in the
to
first
quit
place? To no,
or to
not to
be there,
quit, to
to get into it,
follow,
because I
to
didn't know what I was supposed to do with my life, just like
oh,
you, Robert, just like you. Is like
that's a good one.
you're confused by
Yeah.
society and all these normal people who are doing normal work. Like, I don't know, but when I was 20 and started digging deep, there were no yoga studios. There were no coaches. There were no teachers. All my teachers were books,
Right.
ancient texts, like books written in the 1890 and stuff like that. People who were already dead. And the Zohar, like stuff that there's no
Yeah.
physical
No.
teachers for. And I didn't grow up in a religious family, so I didn't have religion in my life um, by choice. It was kind of forced on me in school at one point, but um, I ended up being an accountant because I was a waitress for that before that. And I flunked out of my first year of university after
We
being an
have
honor
we
roll
have
high
so many
achiever in high school, you know?
we have so many
Yeah.
things in common. It's unbelievable.
And I feel that's what's in common for the old soul. The old soul
Yeah.
out there, the person who is here to really help with the evolution of the planet and help with really big change. You know you're here for something more, but you've been stuck inside this mainstream
Correct.
track.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I started doing working on myself, I was probably the only guy, amongst only women. Women
Mm-hmm.
were very open and willing to go deeper and do some self-inquiry and evolving. Men never had problems. Why should I follow this or that course? No, I don't have any problem. You don't have to have a problem to want to grow, right? But
Yeah.
I got my bachelor's of business administration and I started working, in fact, as a management consultant as well. And I was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? And then I went into sales and uh, took me a while to figure out what I needed to do, but I understand why I needed to also be on that other
Mm-hmm.
side.
Yep.
Very important.
Yeah. Well, the skill set, especially if you're a healer or, people like us, to have that professional skill set, because you're going to be an entrepreneur, like to use
Exactly.
all of that skill set to help yourself with your own business is great. And with coaching your clients. I mean, it's a great skill set. I will not give it up.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and I always want to save money or grow money or grow prosperity. Prosperity consciousness is one of my main things that I want to help people achieve. Like I want us to leave this. There's not enough feeling. There's not enough out there. That's such an old pattern. It's so ready to die.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like I want it to go away. And I lost my train of thought, Robert. But
The shamanic path.
yeah, the shamanic path, it calls you, and it's an initiation. So you do have to go through, you know, things that you don't want to do to become smarter, wiser, stronger, get a good understanding of what everybody else is going through. Like it's like I always thought of it as in-depth studies. The reason I was in a 7-year relationship with an alcoholic, why I was with the person who wouldn't work and would smoke pot all day, you know, I was doing an in-depth study from the inside, like, oh, this is so interesting. Like, what is going on here? So, and also like at work, even waitressing tables is like, oh, people are so interesting. Like, it's just like constantly
I
studying people, and it's easiest if you're there with them.
hadn't put that in that context yet. So,
Yeah.
so thank you. Yeah,
Yeah. In-depth studies, I call them.
yeah, that's an interesting way of
Mm-hmm.
putting it because
Mm-hmm.
it's so true. It really is. And then every step of the way to have to reorient or recalibrate and make new decisions, to what degree you are holding true to yourself and not giving up for anybody and really reaching out to the absolute highest, in yourself. So yeah, at some point I was actually able to say to myself, I love myself enough to not take any form of abuse, no matter what form of abuse that is. I mean, I won't even sit in a restaurant, and if they present me food that isn't prepared in a loving way, or that doesn't even look like it was prepared in a loving way, I won't eat it. I won't, you know? So,
Well, it's tolerations, right? It's like as you do this path or also the get onto the path of your highest good, like what is my feeling best, how is feeling best, and it's just like choosing food, choosing everything that you consume. Your toleration for the unhealthy goes away. It starts
right,
to
exactly,
reduce,
exactly.
but you're noticing it, right? Like it's because your awareness is more expanded, so you're paying attention to it. But you have to practice opening that awareness up so that you do pay attention to it, because sometimes I'm mystified why And it's always so easy when you're inside your family. And it's easiest for me to pick on my family. It's like, why are you still stuck in that fear-based pattern that you've been in for 20 years? Like, why don't you want to open up and look at it from a different way? And why can't I make a suggestion without being attacked? Like, it's like
Yeah.
people like to hold on to their pain, and those people are not my clients, is what I know.
Mm.
Because they're just not open to expanding. And I feel like the only way that they will open to expanding is if we keep walking our talk. We keep leading by example. And that's the teaching that I'm receiving, is like, lead by example, walk your talk. If they don't believe you, if they think that you can't do it, you just don't tolerate listening to them anymore. You do
Right.
not agree with them. It's like, if whatever you think is a lie, I'm not letting it in. I'm not letting it in to my consciousness anymore, so that it can get into my subconsciousness and screw me up, you
Right.
know?
I'm very careful with
Mm-hmm.
sharing, with people my plans or even with my family.
Yeah.
Well, my family, I only have two brothers left. One is in Austria and
Mm-hmm.
the other one is in the east part of Holland. So I hardly ever see them. I only talk to one more than the other. But I hardly do because I don't need anyone for that matter. Oh, well, why should you do that? And how are you going to survive? And how are you going to this? And don't think that it's going to work out. So I'd just rather be silent and just, follow my own path
Yeah.
and
I
have
always
that.
recommend, you know, you want to have your best confidants who are also cheering for you.
Right.
And when you work with somebody like Robert or me, we are the ones that you can share these things with, because we've
Exactly.
been told you can't do it, and we had to eliminate all those negative belief systems that were imprinted into us. And we are your biggest cheerers. Like, we're in your back pocket to help you, like,
Yeah, exactly.
realize your purpose and power, like self actualize and manifest this desires that you have inside of yourself to be your highest self, your highest self. Yeah.
How do you feel, the receptivity you as a shaman now in the network
Mm-hmm.
that you're in?
Oh, I feel a lot better. It's like a switch happened when I quit um that one networking group, and now I navigate by my gut and how I feel. So I've met some wonderful women in Vancouver, and by serendipity, by, like, going to events, and I'm really paying attention to, I feel like going. Wow, I feel so good about going. And then I have multiple networking things on my calendar every week. And when I start feeling, there's a difference. You have to be careful about resistance, because resistance and
Right.
safe problems will come up as well. But if you're already know that about yourself, you can determine what is what. But then I'm like, I don't know about this, but I'm not feeling good. So then I just don't go. And I let something that's good come in.
Right.
And I don't worry about, I'm missing out. Oh, I'm not going to achieve something, or my desire is not going to be fulfilled because I don't show up to a 1 hour networking group. Maybe it's because maybe I'll get 5 clients come in from somewhere else, like, it's just, it's about trust. And more as I move towards what feels good and make space for receptivity to take more space within me, and keep up with what I, walk the talk of what I teach and practice,
Right.
the more open I am.
right. But I'm curious, do people
Yeah.
like the clients that you're attracting, are they actually drawn the healing aspect of what you do, the shaman in you, the business coach? What part are they,
Mhm.
or or the
I
total
think it's the
package? I
total
mean,
package because there's a presence. Like I really help you be the person you want to be. If you are maintaining, if you're energetically managing your energy, and the shaman is also an accountant, like I mean, like I'm all of these things.
right,
I'm a horse trainer. I know how to discipline and commitment and like get you to put your equipment on and get into the race. Like I know how to do that kind of stuff. And so it's a combination for me where, mastery is really one of my core values. And if you are unsure of what your next level step is, if there's like trepidation or you're not feeling something, or if you're scared or having fears come up, those are the things that I want to like get it deep into. Like, and I use all of myself. Like, tell me more about like what
right.
is it? It's like shadows. It's all these shadows that start to come up as soon as you start going to that next level of yourself, to a bigger version of yourself. The resistance comes on, the fears come up, you start thinking you're not good enough, doubting yourself, like all the old stuff you thought you might have cleaned up once before starts to resurface. And that's when, the business person will come out, the horse trainer will come out, and then the shaman will come out to clean it all
Yeah.
up and bless you and like pack you all back together. Okay, you're good. Do it. Like, cheer for you. You know, we're so discouraged so often. To hang around people who encourage you is like refreshing.
Right.
So I like to be, a refreshing. Oh, yeah, you could do that.
Yeah. I had to, you know, really deal with the weight of so many people innocently, but still draining my energy to really be able to say no, uh, and really start connecting with the people that I feel the joy to be working with. I mean, I had the luxury that over the 30 years, I have never had to do anything in regards to marketing, branding. They were always, if people would knock on my door by word of mouth, I knew they were ready to do the work to some degree. Sometimes you have to, you know, lead them on and encourage them to go even deeper. Now that we've opened the box, Pandora's box, you know, don't feel threatened. It's all for the purpose of healing and release. But then I found a coach, and it's like the first thing he says is, "Know your numbers." I'm like, "Know my numbers." I'm glad you're an accountant, but I had no clue, no clue. Know my numbers. I never dealt with that. So when I stepped out of the business world, I did it in such a dramatic way that I just completely shut myself off from the
Mm.
business world. And I did end up for 2 years teaching in an institute that were uh, teaching people to become holistic coaches. And they had a business side of the institute, and they were just sending me all these clients, from different companies. So I had that luxury until Spirit said, "Well, that's the end of that. I think you need to stretch your creativity a little more, you know, and start doing it in a different way." And well, it always happens that way. Every time I think I'm, comfortable somewhere, it's like something shifts, like
Mhm.
a new study comes along, as you
Yeah,
would
new
put
in-depth
it.
study.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I also feel that, you know, there's this deep work, but it's also lightening you. It's also opening up you to better and healthier and wealthier and more successful. And but when you have a guide like Robert or I, we can help you not give up because there's so many, you know, initiations that you're going through when
right.
you're
Yeah,
transforming, when you're healing, when you're really putting yourself first. You really want to like self-actualize your, it's like Maslow's pyramid, right? Like you want to get off the survival rung, you want to get to the top of the pyramid. You have to be willing to go deep and be open to guidance so that when these difficult times come up, you can get through them quickly, like in one session or three
yeah,
sessions,
yeah,
or you commit to working with somebody because there's a lot of work to do, but you're going to have like micro, it's like this 1%. I mean, it's in that book Atomic Habits, and I think it's like a well-known thing, but if you 1% are really helping yourself every day, by the end of the year, it's like 365% transformation.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
and the I like to use racehorse analogies a lot. The racehorse has to jog every day. It races once a week, but it can't race unless it jogs every day. And the racehorse will not put its own equipment on. The trainer needs to do that. So I kind of look at myself like the horse and the trainer. Well, the horse can decide I want to rest today and I don't want to deal with that. And I don't think I'm going to look at that today. But the trainer can some say, yes, you are. You're going to do what you committed to. You're going to notice what you feel and adjust accordingly, but you're not going to flake out and give up. And so it's kind of like you have to crack the whip a little bit, and you have to give room for how you feel too. It's a real dance with yourself when you're navigating your intuition. That's what I've been really tuning into with myself is, yeah, it's a big risk to go out on your own and like create a whole brand and step into your power as who you really are and meant to be and why you're here, because it's not mainstream.
Right.
But when you start surrounding yourself with other people who are doing the same thing, and you're cheering each other on and you're supporting each other, it's way more fun and it makes it easier. And you're expanding, you're opening to all possibilities. They're all there. The possibilities are there. Prosperity consciousness is available to us.
Exactly. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
you, if I remember correctly, didn't you write a book or are you writing a book?
I'm in the process of writing two. Well, I've downloaded 3 books, solo books. I have one that is, I'm finishing it up to go the developmental editor this month. It's named Finding the Source, Realize Your Purpose and Power. And my signature programs are Finding the Source. And that is coming soon, my first solo book. And then I'll get back onto those 2 that are behind it.
Is that the title? Finding the Source?
Yeah,
Finding the Source?
Realize Your Purpose and
Realizing your
Power.
purpose, finding your source. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I've named my signature programs that I help people in private mentoring with. It's all about finding the source.
Right. But how do you reconcile that in the business world when you're talking about source? Do they get it? Do they get when
Well,
you're talking about
I'm
purpose-driven soul alignment, connecting from source? Do they get
yeah,
it?
I keep navigating towards the people who do get it.
Hmm.
And it's about curious people who are curious about about how energetics and intuition and spirituality can really, like, if you are all mental and you got no feeling, you're out of alignment.
Right. Exactly.
If you're all physical and you're not connected to your mental or your feeling, you're out of alignment. There has to be an alignment for you to be manifesting who you really are. If somebody isn't getting it, then look at where your stress is, look at where your mind is racing and where you're not sleeping, and maybe just be a little bit curious enough to maybe look for an answer that you haven't contemplated or gone towards before. Because if you keep doing the same thing all the time, it's pretty much insanity. Like, if the same
Yeah.
thing that you're doing isn't working, something else has to. And I think that's, on a macro level, that's kind of showing us everywhere.
Right.
And there's a stage that is appearing for people like you and me to step right into to help and guide.
When I started networking, I wasn't even sure if I was going to even mention shamanism or breath work, which I really, really love doing. Is one of the first things I work with when people come to me because it just helps them work from the inside out. But I did a small, marketing research with all the old clients that I had, and I asked them again, it's like, by the way, what helped you most, and what are some of the things you are finding in your environment that your entrepreneurs and business owners are struggling with? Two things. Stress, he says everybody's stressed out. Everybody was giving back stress, stress, stress. And how about breath work? Would you think it would be good to mention that that's one of the, they were like, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. That's what really puts you in a different light than most people because specifically in the business world, not many people apply it. However, it's not absolutely true because now in all these networking events, since I've been talking a lot about breath work, everybody's mentioning, oh yeah, oh I've done sessions, oh yeah, I know everything about rebirthing, and so everybody's pretty much open to these things. It might have been different uh, a couple of decades ago, but things are shifting so much, and the energy as well is just like increasing that people are actually forced into alignment. And if they're not, they're going to have big problems. That's the way that's what I've been noticing. And then they're really being confronted with a reality that they're having difficulty with accepting.
And the but I think that's part of you and I and other people like us who actually line up with the truth and talk the truth and say who they are, do who they are, be who you are. That helps everyone else to open up to seeing that they can have that too.
Right,
And
right,
so the more fear removal that I have done on myself around saying who I am and stepping into the power of who I am, the more other people feel safe. And, I've had lots of power is one of my like gifts. I can facilitate a lot of power. I've also had more power come through me and like knock me out as well. I've worked a lot with power, and lots of people have told me they're intimidated by me and I'm too intense. Like, as I was growing up, I've been really navigating power. It's and Power is energy, power is presence, power is being inside your body. And that's one of the things I really teach people. And the breath is part of that, is you're powerful and you're present inside your body. You're not like this mental thing that is floating around outside of your eyes and outside of your body. And it takes practice. It takes practice to become very present. And I think that's one of the gifts of like shamanism and working with energetics and spiritual teachings is that we have learned how to do that.
Yeah. You just hit the nail on the head. Seriously, because when you're saying in the body, because most people aren't in their body,
Mm-hmm.
we need to really anchor into our bodies
Mm-hmm.
and accept the power that we can access.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. And, I've been practicing for 30 years
yeah, yeah,
deliberately,
yeah,
intentionally. And now I feel and I know that I hold space for people to tap into that presence, that power, so that they can learn how to feel it for themselves and then get used to it and realize, wow, when I do this, things are better. you
yeah.
know, my intuition is I can notice it more. I can pay attention to it more. I can attract what I want to me. And like 30 years ago, when I was waitressing, I deliberately got night shifts so that I could do my daily practice and start practicing. Like I practiced for 6, 7 hours before I would go to work to study and all this kind of thing. And
Right.
then when I started doing the accounting work, when I did my daily practice before I went to the office, I was super effective and way more productive and more efficient than anybody else. And I was able to not let the stress attack me as much as it could have. It still did. It still did. But I was able to like be super lined up. But I had to do it often. It got wearing on me that I had to like, tune myself really up to really go into a toxic environment and hold my power and all that kind of stuff. Because I couldn't. It got to a point where your spirit's like, no, Jennifer, like, I'm not going to let up on this. I'm going to keep you frustrated until you get the hell out of here. And I'm like, fine, I'm out of here.
I love it. Listen, I
Yeah.
think we need to continue this conversation another time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would,
We'll have you on Receptive Radio, my show. We'll do
oh, that'd be
part two over
fun.
there.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be fun. That'd be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Everybody out there, join Jennifer. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe we can collaborate in some way or other. I would love that.
Mhm. Yes.
But I'm going to put all your information uh, so that they can get a hold of you. And let me know
Thank
when
you.
you've got your books ready.
Yes, yes,
I,
yes.
I wanna, I want to have them.
Yes.
I want to get them. I want to read them. Yeah,
Yes.
and find
Yeah.
out more about you.
Thank you.
So thank you
Thank you
very,
for
very
having me,
much.
Robert. I really appreciate just the openness and the sharing that we have done.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have anything you want to give the people as some little
Tip?
wisdom, the gift of your
Like,
wisdom? What can
well,
you?
it's like look at your body. Like right now, what is your body like? Is there something bothering you in your body? Like maybe you have eczema, maybe you're getting colds all the time. Like, what is it that is getting triggered in your body on a regular basis and it doesn't seem to be letting up? Because that's something about your intuition. It's connected to something else. It's not just your body's sick. It's something else. It's you got to go deeper into it.
Right,
Just
right.
just and noticing is all you need to do. You don't need to fix it. Just look at it.
Yeah, start becoming aware
Yeah.
because the body is communicating. The
Yeah.
body is the vehicle through which I am experiencing this life. So everything is moving through my body into my conscious awareness. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. And
Thanks,
pay
Robert.
attention and pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then
Thanks,
if
Robert.
and then if you can't figure it out, call Jennifer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.